What's going on YouTube? How's it going? Welcome back to another video. Now this one, honestly, when I say this is probably the most stressed out and the most infuriated I've ever been with a challenge mode, it just doesn't even cut it, if I'm honest. So this is the Azores Port Management Challenge mode, and I did this one off stream purely because I tried it on stream and it just stressed me out. So I thought I would sit here at 1 AM in the evening and try and figure out how to beat this thing. Now, I don't know if I'll include any of my failed attempts in this run, but there was plenty, I tell you. I think this was like the 4th attempt. But there's a couple of tips and tricks and guides that I want to run through to beat this on Jurassic difficulty. Because I honestly, my brain is fried right now and I just need to talk about it. So I came to the solution of using the rock decorations, which you've seen me just do now, and then also targeting specific dinosaurs first and getting them set up. So as you can see right now, I'm currently setting up the Dimetrodon enclosure. Honestly, the easiest one to set up. I would get that one boxed off. I would get the kind of like comfort for the Dimetrodons done, like right there and then as soon as you start the game. And also the first thing that I would do when you load in is pause the game. So pausing the game is really huge for this challenge mode, as well as using rock decorations. In the beginning here, you'll see me use the rock decorations quite a lot just to kind of set the enclosures up. Because there's a couple of little things that I've noticed with this challenge mode that the rock decorations just make it so much easier to deal with. So yeah, so as soon as you load in, pause the game, get the Dimetrodon enclosure set up. One thing that you will notice me doing is when there's a broken fence, I don't place down a maintenance team or replace the fence. I just put a rock decoration. I recommend that you do the same. So when I first loaded into this map, I thought I'd get the maintenance team in, I'd fix everything, and so on and so forth. I don't actually start placing maintenance teams down until like the last 10 minutes of runs of the run on this map. I'm purely fixing things with the rock decoration. So I really recommend you go for that. So once the Dimetrodon is set up, I've still got the game paused here. I go over to the Baryonyx enclosure. Now the Baryonyx is a special dinosaur in this, because basically he's got a trait that means that he can identify prey outside of his enclosure. So what you'll see me do here is I delete the gate or delete that unpowered fence, replace it with a rock prop. And then I use that same rock prop. I delete the gate as well, by the way. We come back and replace the gate later on, but just because when you run out of power, the gate opens, it's just easier just to delete it now. So then I get the same rock prop, and basically I outline outline the enclosure, the Baryonyx enclosure, right the way around, but only the directions that the Baryonyx can see the pathway. And this is purely because to block the eye level between the Baryonyx and the guests. Now I don't know if this is a thing, but I found that once I had done this, the Baryonyx, I think it broke out once in one of my playthroughs. I can't remember if it was in this one, but this placing the rocks around the outside of the enclosure definitely makes it think that there's no prey outside, in my opinion. I don't know, but yeah, so as you can see, I'm just lining the outside of the enclosure with the rocks here. Again, don't know if it makes any difference, but I did it. Now the next one is honestly probably one of the biggest headaches in this map, and it's the I'm forgetting the name of them. It's the raptor things. I can't think of what they're called right now. It'll come to me in a second. But as you can see, I'm expanding their enclosure, but I'm using the rock prop again. Purely this, I'm only doing this because I can influence the enclosure build whilst the game is on pause, which is a huge thing, by the way. You don't have to wait for anything to build when you're on pause, unless it's a proper fence or whatever. So using the rock prop allows you to build the enclosure without having to wait for the enclosure to build. So as you can see, I'm just expanding the bottom of the enclosure here with the rock prop, I go round the outside, and there's a reason that I do this. So the way that I did this is I divided the Nasuto and the raptor enclosure here in half, and you'll find that if you keep the enclosure at the same size that it currently is, the raptors will argue and think that they don't have enough room. So we build a rock around the outside, that expands the enclosure, and then I do the same on the other side, but this time I just use the fence. That's only because the Nasutos are less likely to break out, and you've got a little bit more time to deal with them. So I place the fence down, and then using the gate for the Jurassic tour here, I use that as a kind of guide on how to divide the fence. And I kind of just do this triangular thing here. I have a bit of trouble with the Jurassic tour gate, as you can see. But yeah, we divide the paddock like that, and then we unpause the game. Now this is just to allow the fences to build, like the middle fence and the back fence there. And then we go around and delete the outer fence on the raptor side as well. That allows them to expand their territory and start getting their comfort levels all set, right? Yeah, so then we obviously barricaded in the Baryonyx. One thing I forgot to do, so I've just come back, and that's to set up its comfort and territory stuff. So I recommend doing this as soon as you've done the outer perimeter of the Baryonyx, because you want the Baryonyx happy as soon as possible, just because if this thing breaks out, it's going to keep breaking out and it's really annoying. It's really easy to sort its comfort out, and then you don't really hear from it, or at least I didn't hear from it in my game once this is all set up. So hopefully that'll be the same for you guys. But next up we go over to the Stegosaurus enclosure, and again this one's pretty simple. I do use the fence here purely because they're a slow moving dinosaur, so it's quite easy to build a fence and just get that built. So it's a job of expanding the enclosure, and then obviously going in there and making sure their comfort levels are all set and stuff like that. Utah raptor, that's what they're called. So as you can see, the Utah raptors are expanding their enclosure. Now I don't know if it's a glitch or if it's meant to be like this, but the adult population for the Utah raptors seems a little bit broken on this map. I don't know why, but I actually, you'll see me do it here in a second, I actually tranquilize one of the females, because once you get all of their territory comfort stuff sorted, they moan that there's too many females in the paddock when the numbers don't match up. It thinks like there's 4 females and then 2 males, when in reality there's only 2 males and 2 females, but whatever. So we get all their territory comfort stuff done. Here, the wetlands, the pasture, the cover, all of that good stuff. So we get all that set up, and then we go over to the Nasuto and do the exact same thing again, obviously deleting that middle fence to give them more room. They obviously want cover and ground leaf. Now with the ground leaf, make sure you're using the one that is just ground leaf and not ground leaf and tall leaf. I found that if you use the ground leaf and tall leaf, it doesn't increase the percentages as much as if you just use like the one that's just ground leaf. So an easy watch out there. So yeah, so that's the Nasuto's done. We go over to the Stegos now that the fence is built, and do the same, obviously making sure that we're using just the ground fiber and obviously the ground fruit things. The ground fruit is obviously incorporated into one, but it doesn't really matter, you don't need a lot of it. And then just the cover, and then the water here lastly. So next up, one of the other challenges in this is obviously the aviary and the lagoon. Now with the lagoon, I obviously go over, tranquilize them all, and then what we're going to start thinking about is placing a secondary lagoon over on the side. I for some reason decide to build guest buildings here. I think it's to get our money coming in, so I do just, whilst the game's on pause, obviously just build the guest buildings and get them set up. I don't know if it benefited me. I never went back and checked to see if they were making profit at any point during this playthrough, but I did it anyway, so it might be something to try. I don't know, because very much in this early stages of the game you do struggle with money, so it might be worth getting the guest buildings set up here Just a couple, just so you've got a little bit of income coming in, because the profit margins do fluctuate very easily on this map, I found. But yeah, so as you can see, I'm still not building a maintenance depot. It's up to you whether you want to do that, but I kind of left it right until the end. Another thing that I did is, before I started dealing with the lagoons and aviaries, I did get a medical depot built in, medical facility built in, because that's purely because as time goes on, your avian and lagoon dinosaurs are going to start having health problems. And if you leave it unchecked, one of the fail conditions for this is obviously don't let the dinosaurs die. So if you have a death, you're going to fail the challenge straight away. So I actually built a medical depot right by the aviary. And this is kind of our like healing hub, I guess. Yeah, so I get that put down, and then I think I just set it to like monitor the aviary whilst we're dealing with this. So if there's any health problems or anything like that, the MVU just goes straight out and deals with any health problems, which made it a lot easier. I didn't really have to deal with a lot of the like small health problems on this map. But yeah, so I've just realized that the aviary is unpowered, so I'm just going to move this power over here, and it saves 100k on building a secondary power output as well. So as you can see, I'm just tranquilizing all the ichthyosaurs. Yeah, that's difficult to say. And this is purely because the way that the lagoon is built, I couldn't figure out a way of expanding the lagoon in the actual area. So I actually come over here and build 2 new lagoons, as you can see, and basically we're going to transfer all of these fishes from this lagoon over to the new one that we've just built. I don't know if there is a possibility of expanding the lagoon here in this location, but everything I tried, I could not get it to do it. So I don't know, you guys might have better luck at it than me, but I found this the easiest way of dealing with this problem. So as you can see, the Utah Raptors are still complaining about it. So at the moment, I'm kind of just thinking, how am I going to deal with these? So as you can see, I'm tranquilizing one of the females whilst we're waiting for the ichthyosaurs to get tranquilized as well. And obviously, whilst we're all doing this, the MVU is dealing with the Dimetrodon health issues in the aviary. And as you can see, it actually breaks the fence here. So as soon as that fence is broken, I pause the game, I grab a rock, and we're just going to barricade this broken fence. I don't even bother trying to fix the fence. I literally just triangularly block it in. And if you catch it, like as soon as it stops the dinosaur from actually breaking or going through the fence, I should say. So yeah, so tranquilize the female, and I'm just thinking, what am I going to do with this dinosaur now? Because obviously we can't let it die. So I just take it over to this corner of the map, and I make its own kind of enclosure. And this dinosaur remains here for the rest of the game. We never have any guest interaction with this dinosaur. It is honestly just a spare part in my run. I just don't know what to do with it. So yeah, we chuck it down here, we build its own enclosure. We make sure it's a nice big enclosure as well, because we're not a savage. And then the Utah Raptors that are in the main enclosure in the park, they actually, you know, become happy. And this one is fine on its own as well, so we don't really have to worry about that. Another key watch out for this is obviously when there is a storm, all of the dinosaurs get agitated, so their comfort levels start dropping and stuff like that. So that is a watch out. And as you can see on here, the MVU has identified an illness with some of the Dimetrodons, and we have to go in there and take a picture of that. I did have a run. See, as you can see here, one of the Utah Raptors actually broke out and escaped, so that was a bit of a failure on my part. I didn't see it break the fence, but again, I just grab a rock and barricade the broken fence here with one of the rocks, which kind of deals with that. Yeah, as I was saying, one of my runs, I actually had a twister, and instead of dealing with it, I just restarted the challenge mode. So even though it's really annoying, I recommend that if you do get a twister, you just restart, because the damage that it deals with, and all of the additional like management thing that this challenge mode has, it really, you just don't need a twister. You don't need that aggro. I mean, if you want the additional challenge, by all means crack on, but yeah, when I got a twister, I restarted or reloaded, and yeah, just tried again basically. As you go on here, the status checks do start expiring. I do it quite late in my game, but I would recommend kind of getting down a ranger post so they come and status check it. Also, I forgot to put fish in my lagoon, which, you know, rookie move. So we'll just deal with that there. So I set these to awaken because I thought, oh, I could just leave these 3 in this enclosure, but then I was like, oh no, they need a bigger lagoon. So I had to re-sedate them. Contracts, I didn't really bother with contracts in this, by the way. They didn't really offer me anything beneficial. So I did kind of just leave them. I would also recommend just keeping an eye on the, keeping an eye on the red alert bar at the top of the screen. Just making sure that there's no new alerts there. There's a lot to deal with in this challenge mode, and honestly, it's probably, as much as it was frustrating and stressful, it's a very different challenge mode from what we're used to in Evolution 2 and 1. So I actually quite enjoyed it. It was different. It was a different management level, and I think that's what Frontier have done really well in this game. Is the challenge modes are all different. I haven't played them all yet, but none of them are the same of the ones that I've played so far. And they're all like, you don't have to just sit in front of a TV screen and grind to 5 stars. Like, one of my biggest gripes with Evolution 2 was that the challenge mode was literally just sitting in front of the TV screen waiting for things to happen. But the challenge mode in this game is so much better. So as you can see, the Dimetrodons need fish to feed, and I don't have enough money. So one of the benefits of moving the lagoon is that hatchery, when you delete it, it gives you 500k. So if you can get the ichthyosaurs moved across, it's actually quite beneficial for you, because obviously deleting the hatchery gives you a ton of money. So you do kind of want to, once you've got all of the dinosaurs situated in their enclosures, you do want to like get the ichthyosaurs and the avian dinosaurs sorted ASAP really. So yeah, so I actually had a low health notification which put alarm bells in my head, because obviously that means that the dinosaur's about to die probably. I always found that the avian dinosaurs were the main culprits of that, and now that the aquatic dinosaurs are dealt with, now becomes a bit of a tedious process, and it's probably the biggest tedious process of this challenge mode, and that's dealing with all the health issues from the Dimetrodons. So you want to prioritize the ones that are obviously flagging up red, or that have major injuries. Honestly, one of my biggest advice points for this is that when you are dealing with all of the dinosaur side, don't worry about maintenance of the park. Just get your dinosaurs situated, because then afterwards you can spend the time getting maintenance teams in and actually like repairing the park. So I won't I'll fast forward this, but basically I just spend the next kind of like 5 to 20 minutes dealing with all of the illnesses of the Dimetrodons. I would be careful because I do actually have a death here in a sec, so I would save whilst you're doing this. See, my Baryonyx broke out, and this is the only time it broke out, but it did broke out, so you just have to be careful with that. But yeah, so I would save quite frequently on this. I mean, the game auto saves anyway, but just be mindful that obviously if you have a death and then your game isn't saved, you have to restart everything. And if you're feeling like you're on a good run and you've just left a dinosaur too long to die, like I think it was the Nasutoceratops that dies here in a second, because it has like a leg fracture or something, and I'm too focused on the Dimetrodons and I just miss it. Yeah, so if you have that save game, it is definitely a backup. I actually decided to place down a maintenance team here. The maintenance team will obviously start repairing buildings, because when you start to feel comfortable with how your dinosaurs are kind of like living, that's when you can start focusing on the park and getting in like maintenance teams and stuff like that. So I kind of now balance the two things. I treat the Dimetrodons but also start building our park. So anyway, I'm going to fast forward here. because there isn't really much that I do differently. So we'll catch up here in a sec. So as you can see, we fast forward to here in the gameplay, and we've only got a few little virus outbreaks, of cryptosporosis or something. So we just research the medication, and then we get the MVU to deal with them. I think I allocate the MVU to each of the enclosures. I think I actually put down a secondary MVU as well on the other side of the aviary, just to try and help us get the Dimetrodons healed. So yeah, so we're just dealing with a bit of a cryptosporosis outbreak. Yeah, you can see the second MVU on the other side of the aviary. I found that quite helpful because you can have 6 scientists, and like 3 can heal one, and then 3 can heal another Dimetrodon, and it's just quite helpful to deal with all the health issues. So obviously with the rocks, guess visibility of the dinosaurs is a bit of an issue, so I actually use the viewing platforms quite frequently in this. So I just kind of put them on the outside of the enclosures that have all of the rocks, so on the Utah Raptors and on the Baryonyx especially, just so then we have some dedicated viewing of those dinosaurs. I also go around and chuck down some more viewing galleries on like the Stegos and the Nasuto Ceratops. But now that you got dinosaurs like sorted and that red bar at the top of the screen is dealt with, you can obviously start focusing on guest comfort, which is one of the criteria of winning this challenge mode. You need a 95% rating. So I just go around placing down some restrooms and some security shelters, just to make sure everything's hunky-dory. Now that we're kind of a bit more comfortable, I think about placing down the aquatic hatchery, so we can obviously get a ranger team onto the ichthyosaurs and obviously an MVU as well to deal with the illness that's kind of going out of control. Another thing with this challenge mode, I never bother building a power station. I always just use the generators. I mean, I guess you could build a power station, but the generators seem to do an adequate job. So I just kind of left them to it. So obviously one of the passing conditions of this is your maintenance percentage for the park. It needs to be above 95%. So we are just using the maintenance team to get, stuff dealt with here. You do need to make sure that all your dinosaurs are visible, just because obviously that's going to get your star rating. A good thing about this challenge mode is you don't have to hatch any dinosaurs. You can complete this challenge mode with the dinosaurs that are on the map, so you just got to make sure that they're happy and then have plenty of guest buildings to be able to keep the guests happy, etc. So now I'll just go around and start thinking about how we're going to get the park repaired and get our percentage better. So we get down some maintenance team building things, checkpoints, whatever you want to call them, and then get that sorted. We get some ranger team ranger posts down in the enclosures that don't have them, which I think was just the Baryonyx and the Dimetrodon at this point. And then obviously we start thinking about our guest building, and I mean this is really basic stuff, on how you build the park, so I'm not going to bore you guys with it, but basically I just go around and make sure that there's no red on any of the guest buildings. Same with the restrooms, same with the shelters, and then we also dot some hotels around. I didn't need to interact with the monorail, I just left it as is. I just made sure that there was enough guest buildings dotted around that kept that percentage at a good level. So we're kind of at the end of the playthrough here, so I'm just, the maintenance percentage was the thing that I struggled with the end. Sorry, my tongue's getting twisted. And in the end I actually had to go around and place down like 3 more maintenance team buildings just to make sure everything was covered maintenance wise. I also went around and checked all of our guest buildings and made sure that they were 100% satisfied, or as high satisfaction as we could get it. And then we also got down another ranger team here just to make sure that the Baryonyx and the aviary had, was overseen by a ranger team. But yeah, 5 stars, really fun challenge mode, a real big challenge, but all my life it was stressful. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. Loads more Evolution 3 content coming very soon. Hope you found this guide helpful. Let me know down in the comments if you had any different ways of completing this, because I'd be really interested to find out. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you later.